I thank you just for listening, just for watching, for sharing. I thank you for picking me up this year. I thank you for not giving up this year. And I believe in you the way I believe in me, that next year can be so much better for all of us in so many ways.
This is the Radio Button Network. And this is the new Ace at Large podcast. Now, your host, Ace.
Let's face it. Let's be honest with each other. We all know this. It was the year that sucked, or has been the year that sucked. One day we'll look back on it and say it was the year that sucked. 2020. The year of COVID, the year of stress, the year of worry, the year of feeling alone. And now the year comes to an end with the added stress of the holidays, as we have each and every year. Many of us under what could be considered lockdown orders, which only makes the end of the year stress worse than usual. And these are the days that it feels like it just won't stop. Lucky for you, I've never really been a big fan of the fanfare at Christmas, so I have a plan. I have a reason for being here, and just maybe a few ways to make it better. And maybe you'll have a few, and together we'll all help each other get through it. You know the drill. I'm not a therapist. Been to a lot of therapy. In this year, I don't know about you, but I felt more alone than many people can imagine. And in addition to all the stuff we've experienced together, my daughter died, and that's how we ended up here. I have ideas, I have thoughts, I have hope. And if you'll hang out and spend a few minutes, maybe, just maybe, there's an idea in here that'll help you not feel so alone, and that you'll have a little bit of hope also. Because it's all not bad. I promise you, it's all not bad. Next.
There's more of the new Ace at Large podcast next. Welcome back to the new Ace at Large podcast.
So if you're new to the Ace at Large podcast in this configuration as it is now, let's talk about how we got here. Why we're here, what this is all about. This all started after the death of my daughter in July. She was 21. If you can tell by the slight break in my voice there, it's difficult, man. It's hard to talk about. My right hand, she was my partner in crime. And throughout the process of regrouping my life, I wondered, what about people that don't have what I have? What about people who don't have someone who loves them and supports them? What about people who don't have an awesome son, a great family, incredible friends who are there to pick them up? Oh, and never forget, what about people who don't have thousands upon thousands of people who reach out to let him know, hey, it's going to be okay, to let him know they're praying for you and your family? What about people who don't have what I am blessed enough to have? That's why we're here. That's why we're here together, to find hope, to make hope where there isn't any, because there's always hope. And I know many people say they don't believe that, but that's not the case. And hopefully we'll be able to prove that to you today. We're here to find the hope, because especially this time of year, this can be the loneliest time of the year for many people, for a lot of people. So we clear the air. Let's be honest. I have a great job. I have an incredible fiance. I have a wonderful son. I have friends who would kill for me, many more than I deserve. And yet, after the death of my daughter, there's a lot of times that I just feel lost, that I just feel alone, that I just feel like I can't complete a task. I don't know what to do or what I should be doing. That's the human condition. And quite honestly, if that can happen to me with all the blessings I have in my life, then my thoughts always turn to other people who are struggling with job loss, family loss, all of this in the world of COVID, which may or may not have caused job loss, family loss, financial struggles, and those people who don't have any hope at all, especially as we come to the end of this year and look forward to next year. Well, that's why we're here. So I've just kind of put together a few thoughts on how we're all going to get through these holidays together, because quite honestly, for me, this is the first Christmas in 21 years. The first Christmas that I have no daughter. It'll be the first Christmas that I don't sit across from my son and my daughter. And I'm very blessed that a lot of people who've experienced a loss similar to mine have reached out to share their story or their experiences. And everybody says the same thing. The first Christmas is the toughest. This is going to be the hardest. Doesn't matter whether you are successful or not. Doesn't matter whether you're wealthy or not. Doesn't matter whether you're single or married. Whatever your situation might be, it doesn't matter. This is the first one, and it's going to be the hardest. And it's really going to be hard because right behind Christmas, right behind the New Year comes the happiest day. And that's my wedding. As if you don't know, I'm getting married for the second time in January 4th to be exact. So just a few days after Christmas, we're going to jump on a plane and go to Jamaica. And my son's going to be there. He's my best man. And obviously, Amanda, my wonderful fiance, is going to be there, and her parents are going to be there, and her brother's going to be there. And there's only going to be one person missing. So I'm not sure what's worse yet. A Christmas without her or a wedding without her. A couple of things that are key, just, as I share with you my situation from a wedding standpoint, that very well might be worse because she is the maid of honor. Amanda asked her immediately to be her maid of honor. And as we have approached this post Peyton's death, we have just left it as she is the maid of honor. So here's a catch, a little interesting fact. There is a piece of video that I have not seen that I both can't wait to see and dread seeing. And if you're just listening to this, if you're watching, obviously, you can tell that I get a little emotional thinking about it, because the day that Amanda went to find her dress, she came out wearing the dress that I haven't seen. I have no idea. And Peyton was with her and Amanda's mom, and they videoed Peyton asking her if she was saying yes to the dress. And I haven't seen that. And I will get to see that, because in the video you see Amanda in her dress. And I shouldn't see it before I see her in the dress. So I will see that on our wedding day. And that's going to be hard. That's really going to be very difficult. But that's okay. Because one of the things I've learned through this entire process is it's okay. And that's the first thing. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be lonely. The question becomes, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? It's okay to have a moment and just fall apart this time of year. Again, the question is, are we going to let that be the rule? Or are we going to let that be the exception? It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel despair. But how are we going to change that feeling? A few years ago, when I was going through my divorce, and nobody on the radio knew it, and nobody in the building where we worked knew it except for the people on the show. And we didn't really talk about it. I just told them, hey, I'm not living at home and blah, blah, blah. So if you need to reach me, always go through my cell phone, never call the house phone, that kind of thing. But a few years ago, while I was going through my divorce, I was living in an apartment. And my kids came over for a while on Christmas Day. And I didn't even bother putting up a tree. Hey, they've got a great house with a great tree in it. We had a fun day together, as we always did. And we had gifts and blah, 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 that kind of thing. But there I was that night, all alone, making the obligatory calls to my mom and my family and a few friends, but, just kind of checking in quick. And they were all busy with their families, my friends were and everything. And I just, for the most part, laid low, just kind of hung out for the night. To be quite honest with you, it was very sad. It was very, very sad. And at the time, I thought, well, this is it. This is what Christmas is going to be from now on. Because my goal was to make certain that very little changed for my children. So even though I wasn't there, I wanted them to be at their house with their mom around that tree in that setting like they always were every year, to keep that sense of normalcy going for them as much as humanly possible. And I just thought, well, this is how we do it now. And I, get the time I can get when I get it. I'm thankful for it, and it's always awesome. And they always enjoyed hanging out and being around. But this is what it's like. And I hid my sadness from my kids. Well, more important, I thought I did. Thought I hid that little bit of sadness that I had from my kids. Turns out I actually didn't do it. Just a couple years later, now I have an incredible fiance, a new family, a new additions to my family, shall I say, with Amanda's family, who are just so wonderful and are taking my kids in with open arms, and they're just such good people. I'm so very blessed. But see, a few years ago, I never thought that would even be possible, that this is it. Me sitting around at Christmas, smoking a cigar by myself, out by the pool at an apartment complex, freezing, having a drink. All alone. Not a single other person moving around me. Things change. Things change. As long as you don't give up. It's okay if you need to fall apart, but as we've talked about before, you got to pick yourself back up. It happens regularly these days. It happens to me all the time. I'll give you an example. I was putting away some stuff the other day, and as I do from time to time, I stopped in my daughter's room. And we've talked about before, if you're familiar, I've mentioned it before, this memory board that we have, that she had in her apartment, that we've put in her room, and it sits there. And I'll just go in from time to time and sit down and just look at some of the stuff and totally fall apart for a couple minutes. And to be quite honest, just cry, and then you got to move on. It's time to keep moving. I have a moment, then go back to business. Whatever that business might be. Maybe that business is just getting through the day. Maybe it's going to see a friend. Maybe it's going to hang out with somebody. I don't know, whatever the business might be for you. Washing some clothes. Cooking something to eat. But that's okay. I miss my daughter every hour of every day. And I know that this Christmas, especially once I get to my time off, because we get very busy around Christmas every year. I know that once I get to that time off, it's going to be even more difficult because I have fewer things to divert my mind. Even with the wedding and all coming up, when you have all that time to think about Christmas, it can be overwhelming. But I have decided I am not going to let that sadness be my overwhelming force. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how it's going to go, but I do know that we will laugh and we will tell Christmas stories that involve Peyton. We will enjoy our blessings. We will make it a great day celebrating the birth of baby Jesus and our family. But to me, and I'm just giving you my own personal opinion here, the key is I have decided. I have decided I'm not going to let sadness, although I will be sad, I'm not going to let the sadness ruin it for me. You have to decide that. You have to decide that you will be better. You have to decide, you meaning all of us, we have to decide that we are going to do better. We all, from time to time, wallow in self-pity. We all feel sorry for ourselves at times. That's human nature. Sometimes it happens at home. Sometimes it happens in your car. Sometimes you're around people. Sometimes you're not. But the difference is you can't stay there. Because it's time to move. There's a new year coming. And even though it's just a day, it goes from a Tuesday to a Wednesday or a Friday to a Saturday. I'm not sure what day January 1st is. I do know that a new year is coming, and there is something in the human condition, something within the human spirit, that just that Wednesday to Thursday, Thursday to Friday, that is the starting of a new year, allows us, gives us the opportunity to have a new hope. I'll give you another suggestion. Help somebody else. I promise you, helping someone else will make you feel better. It will make you feel fulfilled. Now, by that, I don't mean you have to go out and buy Christmas for them. Because I'm saying, no, I'm the one in need of help right now. That's okay. Volunteer somewhere. There's some way you can find some way to help someone else who is in need. Whether they're in as much need as you, whether they're in more need than you, it doesn't matter. You doing something, especially at this time of the year, to help someone and put a smile on their face, I promise you, you will feel better. You will feel fulfilled. Doing for others, hearing their stories, finding a way to make something good in the world always helps me feel better. Every time. We can all do it. We can all do it in little ways. And I guarantee you, it will make a difference for us. Here's the best part. It makes a difference for those we help. And it makes a difference for us. And what if, just what if, the person you do a little something for to help, whether it's volunteering at some type of food bank or food kitchen, soup kitchen, whatever the case may be, what if you just saying something that puts a smile on their face, allows them to have a little bit better day, and gives them a little bit of hope? And then they go out and do something for someone else. People call it paying it forward. It's been around forever because it's what we do as people. It's in our hearts. I guarantee you, it'll make you feel better. So what's ahead? What is there to look forward to? There's a new year coming. How do we make it better? How do we find the good? Again, I don't have all the answers. I just have a few ideas. Next.
There's more of the new Ace at Large podcast next. Welcome back to the new Ace at Large podcast.
So what are we looking forward to when it comes to this year for the holidays? What are we looking forward to when it comes to the new year? They can be a little bit different. Because if you're dealing with loss, if you're dealing with trauma, if you're dealing with sadness, loneliness this type of year, what is there to look forward to? Because this can be the absolute worst time of the year to have these feelings. Well, here's one of the things that I starting with Christmas, here's one of the things that I always think about. Don't shy away from it. Like, oh, just pretend I'm not happy to whatever. I think you've got to live in it for a moment every now and then. Because that helps you make the decision to move out of it, if that makes any sense. I'll give an example. There's a Christmas ornament that hangs on the tree at my house. That was a gift from some very special friends of ours following Peyton's death. And it's a picture of Peyton in the ornament. And it has the years of her life and so forth. It was an incredible gift. And it is prominently displayed right under the star on our Christmas tree. And I tear up every time I see it, but that's okay. That's okay. because that helps me clear that out for a moment and move forward. Yeah, it makes me sad. It also makes me happy to know that she's there and part of that. It's weird. I know. It makes no sense. But none of this makes sense. If it made sense, we know what to do with it. We know how to handle it by now. I have a Christmas tree. I believe it's important in this time of year, if you have them, to lean on traditions. And I've talked about this before around Thanksgiving. I have a tree that I gave the tree to my grandmother, my dad's mom. She was my meemaw. She lived in Tullis, Louisiana. I gave this tree to her when I was 3 as a Christmas gift. Obviously, I didn't give it to her. My parents did. But it's the ugliest tree. Silver, and it's got a few homemade little things that hang off of it. And I imagine the tree is almost 50 years old. And she put it up every year. And sometime in the 80s, 90s, she began writing on the box, late 80s throughout the 90s when she died in 1996. She began writing on the box when she took the tree down every year. She wrote the date, and then she would write who all was there and how everybody was doing. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. And every year I put it up with my kids. And I made an error this year. I put it up without my son. I just put it up. I went and got it and put it up because I wanted it up. And it's in my daughter's room at home for space reasons, because he's got stuff in his room and it kind of takes up space, and it wouldn't really fit in there anywhere without giving him no room to walk around one corner. So I don't want you to think all I ever do is do stuff for my daughter. It's not the case. And he said, we always put that tree up together every year. True. It just kind of escaped me this year. I wanted to go ahead and get it up. But every year I put it up, I think about my grandmother, who's been dead, like I said, since 1996. But I also think about my dad and my kids. And it's a really important thing for me every year just to get it up. Whether anybody else in the world knows it's up or not, it's important to me. It's a tradition. Someday I'll hand that tree down to my son. And hopefully Cade will put it up, as long as it'll hang in there, because it's not going to hang on too much longer. So lean on those traditions. But once it's all said and done, and we get to New Year's Eve, remember this. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. For all the bad that happened in 2020 and the COVID and people losing their jobs and having their families ruined and the death and all these terrible things and the tension that was tearing our country apart, here's the one piece of good news. When you stand there on the first time you wake up on January 1st, wherever that may be, here's the one piece of good news. No matter what, you made it. You made it this far. So you haven't given up. I haven't given up. You haven't given up. We haven't given up. We're still here. As my mom always says, one foot in front of the other. Always. Eventually you get there. And if you don't get there, you get somewhere. Because if you're always putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how fast, no matter how slow, if you're always putting one foot in front of the other, you are always moving forward. And when something knocks you backwards, you just keep doing it until you get back to where you were and beyond. If you are always putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how fast or slow, at least you are always moving forward. And that's important, because if you're moving forward, you're trying. And if you're moving forward, you have hope. And if you never stop moving forward, eventually, no matter how fast or slow you're moving, you're going to get there. That's the most important thing. I'm massively blessed. Here's the weird thing for all of my blessings. I'm very hard on myself, and I don't think I've lived up to the expectations in my life in many ways. And there are a lot of things I could have done better. But I realize that I'm very blessed. And I hope that as we move forward into 2021, I can give you some inspiration to keep moving forward the way you've given it to me. There are good days on the horizon if you just keep moving your feet, putting one foot in front of the other. There are better days. I'm going to be married. Something I said I would never do again. And I said on the radio, there will never, ever, ever, ever come a time that I will ever be married again. Turns out I was wrong. Turns out it took one person to change my entire life and to make me feel differently about so many things that I've never felt that way about before. At my lowest point, this person came along and changed everything. I didn't see it coming. I didn't want it to happen. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't hoping for it. I wasn't planning on it. It just came. And something told me, don't turn your back on this. You never know. You never know what's going to happen on January 3rd or January 7th or February 11th. Those dates mean nothing to me. They mean nothing to my relationship with Amanda. The point is, you never know. On June 11th, what's going to happen? What opportunity is going to fall into your lap? You just got to get there. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep believing. There's a lot to look forward to. And I hope that somehow you can see that in your own life. My favorite new quote that Amanda shared with me one day. One day, you will tell the story of how you've overcome what you are going through now, and it will become part of someone else's survival guide. As the year comes to a close, in what may be your loneliest time of your loneliest year, please know this. When you think there is no one else, there is us. That we are here together. We have a lot to share. We have a lot to do to heal ourselves as we go forward. It's not easy. It sucks. I hate it. I hate that I have to do it. I'm not good at it. But like I've said before, in doing this, I'm not preaching to anybody. I'm trying to fix myself. I'm trying to heal myself by hopefully sharing something that helps you. Just don't give up. One foot in front of the other, always, because no matter how fast or how slow, you're always moving forward, and eventually you'll get there. I thank you just for listening, just for watching, for sharing. I thank you for picking me up this year. I thank you for not giving up this year. And I believe in you the way I believe in me, that next year can be so much better for all of us in so many ways. And I pray for you that you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. And just keep moving forward one step at a time. Because someday you're going to have a great story to share. It's going to be a part of someone else's survival guide. And that person will share, and the person they help will share, and the person they help will share, and many people will be helped, all because of you. It can happen. And I'm trying to be living proof of it. I love you. God bless you.
This is the new Ace at Large podcast. The new Ace at Large podcast will be back next Thursday.